Joining me right now is Ramona Pascual. She is Road FC, bantamweight. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course, always welcoming a returning guest.
Yeah, good to be on the show.
Let's talk about, your last fight, your debut at Road FC 45 in December, right near Christmas time. You
hmm
went in there, you faced the young So Jin, and you got the unanimous decision. Um, what did you think about your performance?
I definitely could have showed more, than I did. I thought, a win is a win, right? And that was really the main focus. But I really felt that I gassed a little early. I think it was just from having a very intense camp, not just in terms of my training and the fact that all camps are intense, but just my headspace being in Korea on my own, being in the cold, working with a team that didn't speak English. That was just the sort of psychological exhaustion and burden was just a lot greater than it should have been. And so I was just very burnt out from all of that, and I didn't feel fully recovered. And then there was a weight cut and everything. The weight cut went well, but it was just all the whole 6 weeks, just kind of piling up. And so I felt like, I'm the kind of person that needs to be like sweating profusely before I get in the cage. And, the warm-up rooms are really warm, but then once they let us out, because it was like cold, right? It's like December. Once they let us out into like the back way to get to the ballroom, I just completely cooled down. I was like cold, and so you get in there and they do the announcing, and then you're not really, you're even more cold. You're even more cooled down. So yeah, I felt like it took me a round to get into it, and then it was in the second round that I actually got more loose, and I basically found the one thing that was working for me and just kept hammering at it. I didn't really show much versatility. I didn't really do anything wrestling related. It was just really clinch, knee. Um, so I'm glad I was able to show that my clinch game is decent, and I can throw pretty powerful knees. But she still did really well coming in with those big shots that I didn't really have an answer for. So I mean, happy for the win, like I said, but I definitely thought that I could have performed better, for what I'm capable of. So I'm, it was kind of back to the drawing board. As soon as that was done, I knew exactly what I needed to work on. And so that's what I've been working on with the team here in Phuket.
Yeah, after the fight, going through everything that you went through, do you feel that emotionally, mentally, you're at the strongest you have ever been?
Absolutely. 100%. I would never go and do that again. And if I had known what I was going to go through, I wouldn't have gone. But I'm so glad I did it. It's just, it really challenged me to have to be resilient and have to rise to the occasion, and just navigate my own way around all of these demons, all of these obstacles and all this adversity that I was facing that didn't necessarily have anything to do with fighting. It was maybe just being somewhere completely new, in extreme weather conditions that I've never felt. I've always just lived in tropical areas. And it makes a big difference when you're like, you wake up and you just want to stay in bed. Like you just, the weather's just not helping with wanting to like do shit. Right. And then the language barrier and just being really lonely and going through periods of time where I just didn't speak English to anyone, so, living so far from the gym, having to figure out like the cost situation with being in Seoul, where things are really expensive. So having to be really smart with where I would like shop for food, like go to that supermarket because the apples are $1 cheaper, or like, find a place to stay for cheap. And it ended up being this like, this like kind of basement that was converted into an apartment with this other local people who were so nice to me. They're incredible, but just the whole situation just made it a lot harder. And it was just so good for me. So it's like, for me being here in Phuket, it's like nothing. Like fight camp is, I'm like having such a good time. I wish fight camp was, longer, it just makes things easy, even though we're like, I'm getting smashed like twice a day in the gym, like completely picked apart. It's just easy. Like I have my own space, things are cheap. The weather's amazing. I live like 5-minute walk to the gym. Like it's just, I feel spoiled, and it's also brought me a lot of gratitude with obviously like just my circumstance in the past, but also just where I'm at right now. So it was definitely very necessary for me to go through that, and I'm definitely stronger for it.
Yeah, you're talking about you're in Phuket right now. You're in training camp for your fight, Road FC 47 in Beijing. You joined Phuket Top Team. How did that all come about?
So I visited 2 years ago, even before I decided that I was going to fight MMA, just on a holiday, and it was like 5 days. I'd done a couple sessions at Tiger. I'd done a couple sessions at Top Team. Um, and then that's when I met Eric, the head coach at Top Team. And we just, exchanged like social media, like we connected there. And then we just kind of kept in touch a little bit, like I would just, kind of see what he's up to. He knows what I'm up to in terms of like the fight situation. And I just felt like his philosophy on like training, so he'll put up posts and things like that, was just very in line with kind of what I was looking for in a coach. And he's all about that kind of mental game. He's all about, fighting as a whole, not just like the physical aspect of it, which I really liked. And he's just this kind of madman, and just passionate about coaching. Like he doesn't compete. Like he's not. There's nothing else that really piques his interest. He just like loves to coach. He loves to develop people, and he finds the best ways to do that. And then that kind of helps him develop himself, which I find really awesome. So we had been talking even when I was in Korea, because I'd said, oh, maybe I might want to come over. And he was like, yeah, sure, of course. Like, we have a lot of really good girls here for you to train with, blah, blah, blah. And then, so that didn't end up happening. And so finally, when I came over in January, I was like, hey, Eric, I'm going to be in town. Like, come see you guys, check out gyms. And I told him I was going to be at Tiger as well. And he was like, we can set up a sponsorship for you if you do decide to come over here and train with us exclusively. And I was like, okay, sounds good, but let me just see like what's up. And so I came, and then I tried both gyms. It just, I already had a connection, to him, with him. And I just already kind of had a feeling that Top Team was the team that I wanted to choose. And I think both gyms and both teams are really strong in different areas. It really depends on what you're looking for, right? So I know a lot of guys who love Tiger because they like to go, train with like so many different people. Like you get a lot more training partners from all over the world. And, it's a kind of a big house where like everyone's like see and be seen. But I was looking more for like coaching attention, which is what I found that I didn't have in Korea. So that's what I was looking for this time. Someone who's going to tell me exactly what I'm going to be training, what I'm going to be working on, like design my camp to the T, that's what I want. So, and Eric was, kind of the right guy I knew who was going to help me do that. So, that's how I made my choice. It wasn't really that difficult of a choice, I think. And I just really love the family vibe. I love the guys that I train with, and I've got to know them. And it's just a very supportive environment that I really fit into.
What has your training regimen been like for this camp?
So I do all of the MMA and wrestling jiu-jitsu classes in that area. So it'll be wrestling 3 times a week. It'll be no-gi 3 times a week. We've got pro sparring 3 times a week. So we work on different things, whether it's like ground and pound, whether it's striking only, or whether it's full MMA. And then twice a week, I do the amateur class in the morning. So that's all technique based. So it's something that really even the pros can benefit from, but it breaks down techniques so that you do it, kind of stringing everything together with the striking, with the wrestling, with the wall wrestling, with the jiu-jitsu. And in a pace that's just manageable. And we don't do too much sparring in that one. It's really just technical. It's just drilling. So I really like that one because I'm like a sponge. I'm like trying to absorb everything, right? Like everything is pretty much still new to me because I'm a striker at heart. That's my background. And my first actual exposure to wrestling, I feel like, was in Korea, but that was at wrestling for MMA specifically. And so to come here and be wrestling 3 times a week, which is something I've never done back home, just because we don't have, there's like one place that has wrestling classes in Hong Kong. You don't have a lot of wrestling coaches. And that's a part of my game that I really want to bring up and I'm focusing on. So I honestly have not been doing much striking at all. I do pads twice a week. That's what I'm doing right now. But yeah, just really focusing on the wrestling more than anything, and stringing things together in the MMA classes.
You dropped down to bantamweight for the first time in your debut. Now
Mm-hmm.
your second fight at bantamweight is coming up. Is it easier to cut weight in Thailand compared to in Korea now that you have that experience?
Oh, absolutely. I guess it depends on what season you're in Korea. But like when I was in the cold, it was just, sometimes it's just hard to break a sweat, when you finally do, once you stop moving, it's like gone. Like you're not sweating anymore. So the fact that you're here, everyone trains hard, it's intense, it's humid, it's hot, like a lot of your, the water in your body just like comes out. And so the challenge is really staying hydrated, making sure you're taking in, sodium so that your body can retain the water. It's definitely a lot easier. And also, in Korea, we had MMA training once a day, and then you would do your own thing in your second session. Whereas here, it's like everything's taken care of. I just show up, and they tell me what to do. And so every morning I'm at the gym 9:30 for class, Monday to Friday, and then in the afternoon I either train, either 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and then Saturdays I'll do another session. So yeah, it's really easy. Like I'm just working so much, and it'll be like 2 to 3 hours a day at least, in this kind of heat. So yeah, it's really manageable, and it's nice because then I get to eat a little bit more, because I'm like working more. So can't complain about that.
Do you consider yourself a foodie?
Foodie. I mean, I love food. if that's what makes a foodie. People are kind of, oh, I'm a foodie, and I want to go to like fancy places and try new things. I like food that's like good for the soul. That makes me feel good. That tastes amazing. I'm not too like fussed about like where it has to come from or what restaurant or Michelin star this or that. But yeah, I'm like big on food. I'm big on like, eating foods that like make me feel good during camp, but also that keep me as satisfied as possible, So it's like people are pretty easy with like, oh, I'm just gonna like have somebody prepare my food and whatever. Like I like to like customize my own, like as much as possible. I like to prepare my own thing, or I'll like customize. I'll get like my protein from this place and like my carbs from this place, whatever, or my salad from here, and I make my meals as massive as possible. And that's actually what I'm really good at. So it'll be like the most massive salads you ever seen, and it keeps me keeps the appetite at bay at least. So able to manage it, and just nutrition is something that I've just been very into. Like obviously as a fighter, like a lot of fighters, and this includes me, when I was starting off in the beginning stages of my career, you kind of just do what you've been told, not what you've researched, not what you actually know, because you don't know anything at all. So you do it all wrong and you mess up a lot. And so I think through that, I've just kind of developed this interest in nutrition. It's like, what meal timing and macros and how much carbs you should be eating, and are you going to go high carb, high fat, stuff like that. And it's fun to see people ask me questions, and I just, sometimes I don't realize how much I actually know about it, because I obsess over it, because this is what I do, right? Until someone asks me a question, and then I just word vomit this like whole paragraph, and I'm like, oh wow, like, I hope that was helpful, and they find it helpful. So that's cool.
A few weeks back, you made a visit to Beijing for Road FC 47, the press conference, but also you're there for the opening of the Road Multi-Space Gym. Did you get to
Yeah.
go in there and, explore that space?
Yeah. Oh my God, that place is crazy. I used to work at Epic MMA, which is a gym that used to be around. It's just kind of like an Evolve style. I've seen Evolve too, but man, this place like blows both out of the water. It was I don't know what kind of money. Like, I don't know how much cost. Like, it's definitely a lot of money, but it's just this crazy. Like, you have your MMA cage and you have the MMA area and the bags and stuff. Your typical like 5-star MMA facility, and then you have like all these weights. So it's like a 5-star like gym, and then you have your beautiful like front desk changing rooms and like your spinning room and your yoga area, and you have like a whole area that's just offices, and then you have like a bar, like a club, like a lounge bar club, like restaurant or whatever. It's really a club. It's this crazy, like really good looking thing, and there's like Road FC, like LED, or like flat screens like everywhere, playing like Road FC, fights and stuff like that. It's crazy. I didn't actually know it was the opening when I went for that press conference. So a lot of things that like happened, I was like, oh, this is happening. This is cool. But yeah, that was cool. That was really awesome for them to like fly me over there just to experience that. That would have been my first media thing, I suppose you could say, for fighting. So
During the press conference, you actually got to meet your opponent. Am I correct?
hmm yeah,
Marina Kamugai, right? Now,
yeah.
you size her up, did you look at her and be like, hey, she's not as big as I thought she would be?
Oh, absolutely. Every time you see your opponent, you're sizing everything up. You're like, you're trying to pay attention to every single detail while like kind of like discreetly, not like be staring at them. Um, I've seen like photos of her and I know like her height. So I know that she's taller than me. So nothing about her size like really surprised me, I guess. But it's always like, I've never actually met with an opponent this far out, like, I mean, I've fought people that I've known before, but for someone that I don't know, I've never actually had this kind of, face off like 3 weeks before the fight or anything like that. But I think it was good, just to, sometimes you kind of make up your opponent to be this like crazy savage, and you're like, God, I need to go in and kill her, otherwise she's gonna kill me, But at the end of the day, this is another girl, another human being. Like, she's got a family, she's got hobbies, she's got like whatever. She's really into fighting, just like I am. And we're just gonna duke it out, So whoever's more aggressive on the night, whoever wants it more, like, we don't know that yet. But in terms of like, it's not like a superhuman being with like bulging veins and like, who's just gonna clobber me to death. So yeah, I feel like it helped me, because then I'm just like, dude, this is another person, this is another chick. Like, she's gonna give me a hard time for sure, and I'm never gonna underestimate that. But like, I know I'm a beast too, and so it'll be good just to, it'll be a good fight for sure. I'm excited.
When you step into the cage in Beijing, what can we expect from you?
I definitely feel that I'm gonna be able to show more than I did the last time. Um, my mind space, my headspace right now, my mindset is just, I'm in such a good place. I'm surrounded by the right people. I'm in the right environment. I feel less stressed than I ever have for any fight coming up. Sure, the pressure's there, but I feel like I've been able to manage that pressure a lot better than I have in the past. Just in the fact that I've done this. This is my sixth pro fight, my second in Road FC, but just having a great camp, feeling good. I'm in the right direction. I'm getting the right feedback from my coaches. I'm getting the right advice, and I'm kind of just trusting the process more, and just kind of not worrying much about the things that I don't have control over, which is what she's going to do, come the night. Focusing on my strengths, focusing also on my weaknesses, trying to bring that up, focusing on the game plan and the strategy. So I'm confident that this will be the best performance I'll ever put on. There's just no excuse. Like, I didn't have, like, I'm mentally just going to be in a really great place coming into that fight. I cut down to 62, and I made that pretty easy last time. And judging on where my weight was this far out from the fight, I'm on track. And so I'm kind of taking things that worked for me before, improving things that didn't. And there's no reason for this to not be the best performance of my career.
Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about last March. You're one of the speakers, guest speakers at the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Leading Women Dialogue in Hong Kong. Uh, how did you feel when they asked you to be a speaker for such a big, broad audience?
Yeah, it was crazy. So, well, this is Oracle. So like you know, obviously internet a global company, but it was internal, you know, so it wasn't like super big, but at the same time, it was still like my first speaking gig. Someone had actually reached out to me on Instagram like a few months before. It might have been before or right after my fight. It might have been like Christmas time even, you know, or just January. And said, hey, we're doing this thing. Really keen to get you on board. We're just trying to get women from like completely different backgrounds, you know, which is like something they've never done before, because usually they have like high level execs come in, you know, entrepreneurs. In which there were like a couple entrepreneurs, and I was, you know, kind of jumped at the opportunity. I was like, yeah, absolutely, I would love to, because, you know, public speaking is my whole life growing up has been like the scariest thing I could possibly think of. Like, I'd rather jump out of a plane than speak in front of a crowd, you know? Like, as a kid, I was just so shy. And, you know, that's kind of like a whole nother topic, why I got into fighting and how fighting's helped you, like confidence and things like that. But public speaking has always been something that I've always wanted to conquer, but I've always been like, oh no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I think through fighting and through MMA, like I keep breaking my own boundaries, you know, in terms of what I can, you know, endure and like the situations that I put myself in. So I feel like it's about time that I go into public speaking finally, you know, and give that a go. And, you know, I love to write. I love to express myself in a way that's appealing to people. You know, you want to be able to tell your life story in an exciting way, right? You want people to be interested in you. And I'm constantly putting myself in situations where I'm having to deal with things that most people maybe would not have to deal with, you know, that might find it interesting, or they might find it useful. Like, I don't know, you know, might find it relatable maybe. And so, yeah, so doing that was super fun. I was super nervous, but they just wanted to hear about my experience fighting, hear about what I've been through, asking me specific questions about my career and, you know, the Korea thing, and how I deal with different situations that people, you know, on the daily deal with, like adversity or difficulty, or making sacrifices, or, you know, being unsure or things like that. And yeah, I had a super good time. And then actually recently, um, I applied for this TEDx speaker series,
Mhm.
and I got it. I got selected. So that's going to be in June, right after my fight. So I'm kind of preparing for that right now. And then I'm going to have to prepare for it even more after the fight. And then, yeah, so the event is on Saturday, June 2nd. And that'll be like my first proper individual speaking gig. And I'm super excited. I'm like super nervous. I'm probably more nervous about that than my fight. But you know, if this is something that I fall into, I would be so happy to do that. You know, if I can like go in and talk to kids, because like a lot of people ask like, oh, why do you fight? And I feel like a lot of it comes to do with like my childhood and not having confidence to really. I was just like in my shell and just didn't have the confidence to go and do things and try things. You know, just all that, you know, stayed within my comfort zone like until I was, God, my early 20s maybe. So yeah, like if I can sort of impart some of my experience and things that I've learned to, you know, the younger people, that might help them with making their decisions, you know, that would be awesome. So
Yeah, that is public speaking is the fear of most people in the world.
oh
But
yeah,
before she makes her first appearance on TEDx, you can catch her at Road FC 47 on May 12th, and I'm excited to see you fight again, to see your progression as a mixed martial
yeah.
artist.
No, you'll definitely see that. I'm so excited to fight. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
All right, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, John.